I'm gonna put dirt in this foreground. And I feel like the challenge with dirt is knowing the color of it, because there's not a lot of real fancy technique in just putting a layer of dirt on something. But the color, you look at dirt and you're like, what is it, brownish, grayish, orangish, blackish, what is that color? It's hard to mix your paint to it. So that, I think, will be the most important information here. The colors I use is red, yellow, black, and white. That's all you ever need to make any dirt. The way I do it, I feel like the look of dirt is from all of the different colors in close proximity rather than one solid color that's the color of dirt. So this is one technique where I prefer to always mix on the canvas. You get it? This I got from just mixing red with my green, but if I'm covering a lot of area and I'm not blending it down from the plants, I'm just doing dirt, then look, I just made orange by mixing red and yellow. I'll add black, and then I'll add white. And then I'm gonna mix them, but not all the way. I always leave it a little bit unmixed. By mixing it on the canvas, I always have like a million different colors in close proximity to each other, so it has a much more realistic quality to it. And right now I can see that the color is very vivid. It's real colorful. I want to gray it out. I'll just add white. I'll lighten it. So let's do dirt that's in the sun versus dirt that's in a shadow. Dirt that's in the sun is going to be way closer to a bright orange. I know that when you hold dirt in your hand, it doesn't look bright orange, but in relation to the other colors in a picture, when sun is shining directly on a brown surface, it can be very close to a true bright orange. So this has a lot more red and yellow and a lot less black. And now I'm adding white to really brighten it up. Now, like I said, I'm not going to mix it all the way. White is always the last color I put on. And as I put the color on, I leave spots in between, some negative space of the darker color. And that creates the look of maybe little cracks in the dirt, maybe a raised spot, a little lip of ground that comes up. So you want to intentionally leave some areas dark so that it looks like a shadow catching the edge of the ground, or the edge of the ground catching a shadow rather. See, and you know, you don't have to be super careful about putting it in any exact place. But this is dirt in the sun. Now that could be any shade. I can make it more yellow or more red or more gray. I've got all the colors I need with the red, yellow, black, and white to do that. So this is just kind of a general medium tone. I'm going to do a little more of that, and then we'll make a shadow color. So red, yellow. Okay, I've got orange, tiny bit of black, because I want this to be nice and bright, and then the white. I think I didn't do quite enough black. Let's do a little bit more of that. Then white. So this is my bright colored dirt. In Arizona we have a lot of reddish colored dirt. But where I grew up in Ohio was much more of the gray brown colored dirt. Mauve, I think, is a real good color to use. It seems like a color like mauve would have no good application ever anywhere, but it does in a painting. See how much white I'm adding? It's a ton of white here. And then, but I'm intentionally leaving these stripes of darker color. And look how it shifts, where it's a little bit more red here, a little more yellow here. That's a good thing, because when I'm done and I have the larger picture, it'll cause all of those different subtle gradients will cause this to look more realistic. Let's put a shadow coming right under these bushes. We're going to leave out the yellow. We're just going to go black, white, and a little bit of red. Should have did the white last. It creates this kind of purpley tone. It always makes a really nice shadow on dirt. Now this is not the grass section, or else I'd start fading up into this green and do that. I'll do that later. But I want to show you how you can just blend this up into there. Have the shadow. And maybe I'll even take the detail brush and drag this shadow color, get a little more black, and I'll drag it up into the plants. You know, just with some real loose, swooping, vertical strokes. Because the shadow would get darker as it got closer to the base of all of this undergrowth here, you know. So it's interesting that you get a purple tone from mixing red, black, and white. You do, because the black has a real strong blue hue to it. See, and then if I want to, I can add more texture to this dirt that's in the shadow by adding little bits of white. I could use a bigger brush for this. I just had this in my hand, so I'm using it. So it's cool when the shadows of a picture have detail also, just like the light areas. Everything I do, everything I paint, I'm always trying to figure out what is the true color, what is the shadow color, and what is the light color. If I establish those things in my mind, it helps me figure out the colors that I need to put down according to the situation. How much light is shining on it, where, from what direction. See, so that's my shadow. Now, I'll take this dirt now, move it down, do more in here. I'll have some areas that are darker, some that are lighter, and just by the variations of color, it'll create shape. Just by mixing these red, yellow, black, and white all across the canvas. But I'm going to try to make a consistent overall tone of this dirt that's in the sun so that I don't have just random colored patches everywhere. This is one technique, like I said, where I just use the pure primaries. Others, I've moved to pre-mixing colors ahead of time on either a palette or in a container. But when it comes to dirt, I still like just doing it with the red, yellow, black, and white primaries. See this real dark edge? You know, that could be like a rock sticking up out of the ground. And when something like that, you know, when it kind of happens by accident that way, you can, if you see something, you can intentionally enhance it, you know, do something to accent it. Like I could take some white, I can say, well, this is a rock now, because I mean, I'll do another section on painting rocks, but maybe I just turn this little guy into a rock. And then it needs to have a shadow, so if I put some bright color down here, and I'm only doing this because I first saw that shadow there. So then I'm just deciding to just go with it. Make it look like a rock, just kind of half buried by dirt and coming out of the ground. Maybe this is the back side of the rock. Some bright dirt coming out from behind it. When you snap a photograph of something, you can always tell when you're looking at a photograph because just about every single pixel on the screen is a different color than the one next to it. Whereas with paintings, you know, a pixel may be just the size of a brushstroke. Or you may have the same exact color covering a larger. Paintings have larger areas of the exact same color and it immediately gives it away. Looks like a super compressed photo or something. And that's if it's done well. So my point in saying that is with dirt, to get it to look real natural and earthy, it's mixing those primaries so that you get all of these different colors happening real close to each other. There will be all kinds of points, you know, along the way when I'm making a painting, like right now, where I'm putting it together and it's really not looking great. Like when I'm doing the dirt. Well, up in here, I'm like, yeah, this is not looking like dirt. Just keep going. Just see what you can make out of it. You know, it's half the time I'm learning as I go. It's a real important mindset to have. You know, you got to go through a lot of awkward phases before you reach an attractive result. Dirt in the sun can be very bright, kind of like a sidewalk in the sun, you know, in relation to other colors in a painting. So you can see that I'm leaving these strips just because it kind of looks like layers of dirt, or you know, where it's really dry and baked in the sun. And maybe takes a bright color and put it down in here. Sometimes I'll just come down here and do this just for the sake of consistency, just so that it looks similar across the surface. I don't even like the way this rock looks. You know, if you do real large strokes, you'll see that, but if you do real small ones, you know, you can make the dirt look like it's got smaller texture to it. And likewise, as you go higher in the picture, I'll use smaller and smaller strokes. So I go up there, kind of like doing water waves or something. So it's the stroke of the brush matters how big these are to give the dirt perspective, because it's making these little changes of shade that are making shapes in it. So I could take this tiny brush and I'll use my shadow color that I made and do the red, black, and white mix that I did before. So this is my shadow color on this dirt. And you know, maybe you want to add a little bit of yellow to it. I mean, you could. It depends on the shade of dirt that you're making. You know, I think no matter what you do, if it's close to this, it'll be fine. But I can make little edges and details in it. You know, and I'm still just sticking with little horizontal lines. It's just using the right colors so that every stroke of the brush just looks like some kind of a little thing in the dirt. Like maybe we want it to look like there's a little bit of a beaten trail kind of going down. So if I take the shadow color that I made and I just put it all on the same side of a line, so I'll do the black, red, and white again. There's already a ton of white in there, so I'll just do black and red. So I'm making a shadow right now. And the shadow is on the right side, because I remember with my clouds, I established that I had the sun coming from a little from the right side. So same thing here. I'm going to make this soft blend of a shadow on the right side of a trail. Just blend it out this way. Now it's the swoops of the brush. They're going to give this trail some shape. See, then it looks like it's kind of beaten down. People have been walking on this area. Maybe we could put a lot of the white up here so that it just kind of make it swooping down into that whole ditch, whatever you call it. See, so I've got a path of strokes. They're all kind of following this shape. Then I'll make it look like level ground up here by continuing that light color. So then I'll take this bright color, and wherever I have a little trail, you know, if I have something that I want to look like a path that's kind of dipping down like this, I want the very bottom of it, the angle is the same as the top, and I want those to be the brightest spots because they're facing directly upward. They're facing directly towards the sun. So if I brighten this one spot, just this path right up the middle of this, then that should tell your eyes that it's going down, flat, up again. See, and then this is the shadow side. Notice that This now has a shadow where it swoops down, but that shadow is not as dark as this shadow, because this shadow is turning more away from the sun. This is the one that I want to be darker. I'm going to put more of it on there too. So I want this to look nice and 3D like. Actually, I'll just use the bigger brush. Okay, then I'll just drag this in here. Again, using these swooping shapes. I guess it's kind of just mixing to a certain degree, but then knowing when to stop mixing it, because you don't want it to get too solid. I'm just creating the same shadow color that I used down here. Okay, it was mostly black and white, just had a little bit of red in it, kind of that purpley tone. And then I'll just come through here and start putting it in some areas. This. And what these are going to be is shadows. Put a few here, put some here, here, just put them anywhere. The next step is to do an even darker color. So then let's create the same kind of color, but darker. Okay. And we're just going to do little dots kind of right above, putting them just a little bit above so you still see that shadow underneath. A little bit here. And what this is, this darker color, this will represent the underside of whatever little objects are on the ground. Then I'll come across here and just put it on the top of these little areas. You see? Well, these look a little bit silly, you know, it looks like they're all systematically spaced, so that's kind of funny looking. I'll have to change that. But you can see the depth that it creates by putting the light shadow on the dirt, the darker shadow for the underside, and then doing the highlight on the top. And then you can also take a little highlight color like this and just look for any little dark spots, any littlest dark spots. Wherever there's a dark spot, just put a light spot above it. You know, find a dark spot. Here's little dark spots in here, so I'll just do that. This is how you make it look like there's debris. But you want it to always be above a shadow. Or not. Look, if you want to get more detailed on these rocks, I'll mix an intermediate color. I've got the red, yellow, black, white. See, just by adding an intermediate color, you can make them look like they have some dimension. Some there. Little dab will do it. So I'm going to do some dirt around the edge of where I'm going to put water. And that dirt is a lot further away. So naturally, like everything else I did further away, you can see I've already added the sky color right in here to make this mist by this hill. So I'm going to do the same thing with the dirt. So the dirt is going to be I'm going to put all of my extra paint that I get on my brush down at the bottom of the picture. My red, yellow, black, white. The logic is to add the sky color. But the dirt is already a shade of orange, and adding blue to orange is just making gray. So all I need to do is less of the red and yellow, more of the black and white. So by making a grayer color on this, see, let me get some white, that's going to be the same effect as if I just added blue to it. See, I swoop up to make those interesting shapes right there where that grass is. And then I have my grass color handy. So if I want, I can just pull this green. This is the color I used on the grass. Pull some of the shadow color I used on the grass. Put it down in here. so that I can blend it into this dirt. Then a little bit of red. Red is the color that I want to mix with the green to make that shadow underneath. You see, so there I have like the bank coming up and I have some grass coming up right there. So dirt that's far away is just grayer. That's what it is. Now watch this. You see this color. You see that I did not use any blue to do it. Right, so now right here I want to show you something. Red, yellow. It's going to be very orange. Here's my blue sky color. Look at the result. You see, so it's virtually the same thing. So all I did was use more black and white, just left out the red and yellow as I got back here. But I just want you to understand my logic. You can mix the same exact colors with different combinations. Blue, when mixing primaries, serves the same role as black. Wherever I have little gaps of dirt far away in the grass, I always put the lighter tone of it at the bottom edge, because then it creates that look of the shadow in the grass, and then it creates the top of the grass, makes that edge visible right there. Tiny detail, but I just really like the way it looks. So in everything I do, I try to use an appropriate sized brush. So I'm gonna use a little bigger. I'm gonna put a little trail in there. So I'm gonna need to reapply my grass colors. So we're gonna need the black-blue mix that I did for the shadow right here. And we're gonna need the green right here. And then we'll throw in some of the highlight color. We'll just kind of put it coming down there. Maybe use this bigger brush to blend it out a little more. Okay, then red. Red mixes with the green to create a very earthy dirt color. So by swooping this red right over the top of that grass, like I have no regard for what I just painted. And then white. See, it's a little too red. Green kills red. More green. This is the important part though here, is this dark shadow. This dark shadow creates all kinds of depth at the base of the plants. I'll just feather it up into the colors I have, feather these colors down. Look how it just makes depth with the grass blades. I love the way that looks. Do that. Get more of the white. Just make it disappear into this grass. Then maybe I'll come back to my brushes that I used for the grass, and I'll water it down and just bring some grass blades back over the top of that. Just all the same colors all over again. Get the highlight color. And just do that. And if it's close enough, then maybe I don't use the big brush, maybe I use the detail brush and do blade by blade. This is really the most important part, like I said. It's just blending this base the base of those grass blades down like that, and then blending that into the dirt color. Now I'm going to try to recreate this bright dirt color. So I'm just going to start filling surface area with that technique. Now let's do some bushes and foliage.